What makes a good villain? Some may say it's a strong motivation, a compulsion that pushes them towards being as evil as they can be. Others may say it's about charisma and attitude, making a villain as equally entertaining as they are evil. And some may say it's simply about making them as vile of a person as humanly possible. And these are all very solid foundations for bad guys. Gustavo Fring from the Breaking Bad universe is the perfect form of motivation, having an almost insatiable drive to destroy the Salamanca family at any and all costs, and is willing to mow down anyone in his way to get it done. For charisma, it's someone like Handsome Jack from Borderlands, a character that is so deeply entertaining that you almost feel bad when it's time for his comeuppance.
You're still alive, so if you could just do me a favor and off yourself, that'd be great. Thanks, Pumpkin.
And for pure, unadulterated malice, most people point towards Judge Holden from Blood Meridian, a character whose atrocities run so motherfucking deep that I ain't even gonna try to discuss them in this video. All of these villains are timeless in my opinion, and succeed in their roles and even roles beyond those with flying colors. But there is one element that I neglected to mention, an archetype that surpasses all other villainous tropes if executed properly in my opinion. That archetype is the foil.
お前のこともそのうち忘れるさ。
Sammy and Remick, Solid and Liquid Snake, Xenos and the Warrior of Light. The foil is a villain that both completely parallels the protagonist and reflects them in equal parts, being completely opposite to the main character in motivation, mentality, and mindset, but also reflecting those things in a dark and warped manner. Remick accomplishes this by having a very deep connection to his culture and the music within it, and knowing the feeling of having your culture be assimilated right before your very eyes. But instead of expressing his passion by creating music and sharing it with others, much like Sammy does, he instead forces his culture onto everyone else by way of converting them into vampires. Liquid Snake does this by sharing the exact same DNA as Solid Snake, both of them being made to be the perfect soldiers. But whereas Solid uses this to fight for positive change and prevent unnecessary bloodshed, Liquid uses his DNA simply to prove his superiority, not only to Solid and to Big Boss, but to the entire world. And Xenos does this by living for the thrill of combat, similar to the Warrior of Light. But contrasting the Warrior of Light's desire to fight not only for the thrill, but for those they care about, Xenos fights purely for his own lust for a strong opponent. The foil is a perfect mirror to the protagonist, and not only serves as a worthy antagonist, but as an ideological, immovable object to the main character's unstoppable force. This is my personal favorite villain trope, as you could probably tell from my nonsensical ass yapping. But for as much as I love this archetype and many of the antagonists within it, there is only really one that I can say truly takes the cake for not only being a foil, but for every attribute that I have mentioned thus far. Motivation, charisma, and pure unbridled evil all included. A villain that masters all of this so well that they are not only one of my favorite villains in media, but in my eyes, the best villain ever written in modern fiction. Hi, I'm Cam Soliday, and you're about to listen to me yap about the best villain in modern fiction. In my opinion. Let's get into it.
I mean, after all, I was born from you humans.
Jujutsu Kaisen is home to a ton of memorable villains of many different personalities, dispositions, and motivations. Someone like Toji Fushiguro and his tragic transformation from a loving father and husband to the infamous sorcerer killer. There's someone like Kenjaku, who is possibly the most egotistical character in the entire series, with his constant planning and backup planning, and his pursuit to see the full optimization of cursed energy realized, no matter how deplorable or disgusting the means to do so may be. And of course, y'all know I just gotta mention my GOAT, the GOAT, the strongest feminist of today. Ladies and gentlemen, can we clap it up for Naoya Zenin? Oh my God, bro, you just can't hate him. You can't hate him. You know, he's such a good guy. You know, and he loves women so much, and he's not a fraud, most definitely not a fraud. But above all of them, Mahito stands above in my eyes as being the most well-written and effective villain in the entire series. But let's take it back for a moment. Jujutsu Kaisen is a series about many things: life and death, trauma, fate, connection. But one of the themes that stands above them all is humanity. The good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. Cruelty, compassion, empathy, malice. Humanity is a very multifaceted and deeply complicated concept that is typically viewed in only one of a few ways by many people, and that is something that the series delves into with visceral and intimate depth. Someone like Suguru Geto may view humanity as a burden, something that he previously believed to be a moral compass, something predisposed for benevolence, but after seeing how evil and self-destructive humanity truly has the capacity to be, can only see it as something meaningless and something that should be discarded. Or on the opposite end, someone like Satoru Gojo could view it as something beautiful and full of potential, something that should be protected, nurtured, and cared for as to assure that future generations not only reach their fullest potential, but loves and appreciates humanity and morality as much as he and others like him do. The latter applies to the main protagonist of the series, Yuji Itadori. Yuji, despite being aware of the many flaws and downsides to human nature, still chooses to uphold and maintain his altruistic values. He's selfless and loyal to a fault. He keeps the heads of his and his comrades high, even in the most terrifying of situations, and despite all the pain and trauma that Yuji has gone through, the pain that would almost warrant him to become evil, he still chooses to grow and be the best version of himself. Not only for himself, but for those he loves and cares for. Yuji at his very core is the culmination of all the love and positivity that people try their best to uphold. But as I mentioned a bit ago, there is still two sides to this. Whereas one side radiates the light of humanity, the other reflects a deep and bottomless darkness. That darkness that dwells within each of us in one way or another. That darkness is Mahito. If Yuji is the culmination of all of humanity's love and positivity, Mahito is the embodiment of all of its malice and negativity. He is that inner darkness that every person has inside of them, all lumped together and made manifest. He is senseless, mindless, evil incarnate. This on its own does wonders for making him the perfect foil to Yuji. Opposite to him, it is simply within Mahito's nature to be as evil and nihilistic as possible, given his nature as a cursed spirit born from people's fear of one another. This senseless evil applies to him and only him, as every other villain in the series all have their reasons for being evil. Kenjaku's evil stems from his pursuit to realize the full extent of cursed energy, having a very sickening but simultaneously very human and grounded curiosity to see just how far it can be pushed. Toji is evil due to his trauma and his rage, mostly directed at his clan but also toward himself. In spite of his carefree and sadistic personality, Toji's life as an assassin is a spiteful and emotional response to a world that completely casted him to the wayside. And Sukuna is evil because he sees no other path for himself in his current life that doesn't involve being evil, that doesn't involve being the king of curses. So he commits himself to it fully, resigning and restricting himself to his self-imposed role and not allowing himself to exist in any other way. But Mahito is different. He kills, he torments, and he causes destruction as he pleases simply because it's what he exists to do. It's quite literally all that he is. This by itself makes him horrifying on a conceptual level, but an aspect that reinforces this is how strangely childlike and curious his disposition is. Mahito displays a very unsettling and childlike wonder from his killings and refining his curse technique, in a very similar fashion to a child playing with a new toy. This childishness even extends to how eager and intent he is to mess with and break his enemies psychologically, particularly characters like Nanami and especially Yuji. But his sadistic nature isn't enough to automatically dub him the best villain in modern fiction, as there are plenty of villains out there that do what Mahito does just as well. No, the thing that gives him that title in my eyes is his undeniable humanity. In spite of how egregious and outwardly evil he is, Mahito alongside Yuji is one of the two most human characters in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. For as much as he mocks humans, their mentalities, and their moralities, his never-ending pursuit to shatter the ideologies of his foes and prove once and for all that people are no more than souls encased in sacks of flesh is indicative of his undeniable humanity. Hell, to emphasize this, Mahito is the only curse in the entire series whose blood is crimson, showing that he truly is a byproduct of all the hate and pessimism that stems from humanity. The very same humanity that, in spite of all of their differences, makes Yuji and Mahito the exact same character. But before we get deeper into that, I want to touch on Mahito's purpose on a broader scale. The world of JJK is deeply unfair. It's probably one of the series' most defining traits. People die on a whim left and right, bad people win more than we'd like, and people who don't deserve to suffer tend to suffer the most. Bad things happen to good people. As said by Megumi early on, the only thing that's fair about the world is that it is unfair to everyone. In regards to Mahito, this is exemplified in one major way. He is responsible for the most deaths of important characters, only being beaten out by Sukuna, who is the main villain of the story. He kills Junpei, whom despite living his life in hardship, decides to finally put his trust into someone and loses his life for it. He, seemingly, kills Nobara, who despite starting her career as a sorcerer with an extremely negative outlook, finds people to love and something to fight for, and is killed for it. Again, I say seemingly because even though she was basically removed from the series, how the fuck did he not kill her here? Mahito, I'm not gonna lie, you going on fraud watch, my boy. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way it's gotta be. And Nanami, the character that breaks my heart the most. Nanami was so extremely dedicated to helping people and being a sorcerer. He's seen friends he's made either die or turn into monsters, and through it all still chooses to help people. We see him fight. We see him form a connection with Yuji. We learn of his dream to retire and move to Malaysia, live on the beach, read books, and bask in the warm, soft sunshine and the sea breeze dancing through his hair, taking back all the time he lost for himself. He fought and worked so hard for that dream, but instead of being able to see that dream through, to be able to retire like he deserved to, he's instead murdered in a subway in Shibuya, having his upper body blown off from his lower, and being used as an avenue to break his most beloved student. Because life isn't fair.
So you're here too.
I've been here the whole time.
Returning to a more character-focused view, as I mentioned a bit ago, their contrasting yet extremely strong views on humanity effectively make Yuji and Mahito the same character. But for the common reader or watcher, this doesn't make a lick of damn sense. How could these two characters be anything alike, even as proclaimed by the both of them at varying points throughout their rivalry? Well, to begin to understand this, I think it's important that we tackle the subject of the soul and its meaning within the context of JJK's narrative. The soul in the world of Jujutsu sorcery serves not only as a moral baseline, but it is a metaphysical part of a person's identity and very being. This directly relates to Mahito, not only in regards to his pursuit to discover the shape of his own soul, but his curse technique and how it ties into his character. Mahito's curse technique is called Idol Transfiguration, an ability that allows him to shape his own soul and the souls of others, and therefore change their physical shape, so long as he is touching them. This is not only one of the coolest techniques in the series, but also one of the most thematically appropriate. His philosophy philosophy of souls simply being the thing that gives the body shape and function is almost validated by his technique. The way he transmogrifies the bodies of innocent people is emblematic of this, literally having a stockpile of transfigured humans stored in his stomach to use at his whim. This directly contrasts Yuji's compassion for everyone and everything. He has the compassion to extend care and concern to everyone, friends and strangers alike, and sees every life as valuable. His resolve to fight to protect others and his existence as a whole completely clashes with and invalidates Mahito's entire philosophy, to which he takes this a little personally.
Fuck your homie dead. Fuck your homie dead. Fuck your homie dead. Most of their ass got hit in the head.
It's such a large part of the reason why Mahito relentlessly pursues the goal of making Yuji as miserable as humanly possible, because his conflict with him isn't just a clash of ideals, it is a complete invalidation of his cruel and uncaring outlook on humanity. It's also one of Mahito's most human traits, his insecurity. His desperation to validate not only his philosophy, but the very nature of his own existence. We see this on full display during his interactions with Junpei, talking about the worthlessness of human morality and his materialistic image of souls as if they were facts of the universe. But a scene I want to highlight in particular, and one of my favorite scenes in the manga that shows this, is his monologue after taking out Nobara. More specifically, his Black Flash. The Black Flash up to this point in the series has been a technique that's been used in moments of triumph by sorcerers. Yuta's Black Flash against Geto, emblematic of how far he's willing to go for his friends. Nanami's Black Flash chain, showing his skill and how dedicated he is to being a sorcerer. Then there's the series of Black Flashes that Yuji lands against Hanami, a display of a strengthening in his resolve and the strength he gains from his connections. Every Black Flash so far has been used in badass, aura-filled moments across the board. Whereas Mahito's
自分の才能にああ俺って俺こそが呪いだ極戦
is filled with pure, unfiltered spite. It feels like a spit in the face to everything that Yuji has been fighting for. The same move that he uses to protect and fight for humanity, Mahito uses to show that he not only believes, but in his mind knows that Yuji's positive and compassionate view on humans and human nature means nothing to him, channeling all of his petty hatred and spite for humanity into one critical strike. This is what makes him and Yuji the exact same character. Their convictions to the things they believe in, and how they both completely stand behind their views on humanity. In this very same scene, Mahito beats the ever-living shit out of Yuji, brutalizing him in his broken state, further attempting to invalidate his journey so far and make him feel as worthless as possible. The thing about this particular scene that I love is, despite how passionate Mahito is in this scene, and his seemingly proud declaration of him being a curse, the amount of effort that he's putting forth in this monologue to invalidate Yuji is further emblematic of his deep-rooted insecurity of being a curse born from humans. When he says things like,
お前のこともそのうち忘れるさ
I find it hard to believe him. Someone as unremarkable as he claims Yuji to be would not warrant the amount of lashing out that Mahito partakes in, and the amount of dedication that he has to perfecting his curse technique. This very same lashing out is seen most prominently in what I believe to be the most telling internal factor of Mahito's character: his domain expansion.
領域展開
Self-embodiment of perfection, the ultimate display of Mahito's ignorance and hubris in a grotesque and disgusting display. It is an audibly cacophonous, visually sickening effigy to Mahito's mentality of believing that he is enlightened, believing that his outlook of humans and their souls being nothing more than playthings as an absolute fact, literally placing those trapped in the domain within the palm of his hand, ripe for transfiguration. The thing I want to highlight about this domain expansion is the juxtaposing Buddhist imagery that's littered throughout it. Every domain requires a hand sign to be performed in order to activate it, and it is typically a hand sign that is reflective of the caster themselves. Mahito not only has 2 hand signs, but he is the only character in the series that has hand signs that not only contribute to his character, but contradict it, and I believe that this was done purposefully to highlight the flaws within his philosophy. Mahito's top hand sign is Nyorai-in, a hand sign that is a practicing that people use on the path to becoming a Buddha, and the bottom one is Kujaku-myu-in, a hand sign that is indicative of a god that eats the flesh of humans. Mahito believes that due to his ability to see into the souls of humans, that he alone has a full and definitive understanding of the way they function. He believes that he knows what makes them tick, what they love, what they dread, and most importantly, how meaningless all of it is. His supposed enlightenment is a disgusting perversion of the concept that he parades around with such joyous glee. That is until his deep-seated insecurities decide to look him in the eye. Mahito's final fight in the series and his demise are what I believe not only completes his character, but solidifies him as a timeless villain. For his entire existence up until the finale of the Shibuya incident, Mahito believed himself to be unquestionably correct in his assessment of humans and their moralities being worthless, something that people used to make themselves feel special, and something that he can use to torment them. He upheld all of this until his insecurities stared back. He had declared to Yuji that the two of them were one and the same, but that was without realizing the other side of the mirror, Yuji's side. Mahito believes that he alone is enlightened and the only one that knows the true nature of the human soul, while Yuji, at the time of their final battle, knows that he is just another cog in the wheel of Jujutsu, existing to keep the balance of humans and curses in check. But that's also where their similarities begin. The exact same way that Mahito will continue to torment and kill humans, staying true to his nature, Yuji will continue to kill curses to keep the balance in check. Just as Mahito killed repeatedly, again and again, Yuji will continue to kill curses, again and again, starting with him. He'll kill Mahito as many times as is necessary, over and over. And if he's reborn again, as a new curse with a new name and a new face, he'll kill him then too, because it's simply within Yuji's nature. The quiet and almost pathetic nature of his death is beautifully juxtaposed to his destructive existence, and concludes his character in a way to be extremely satisfying. There are many villains in media that embody the concept of pure evil. Judge Holden, Anton Chigurh, just to name a few, but Mahito is the one character above them all that embodies pure, unbridled malice, whilst also having an insane amount of humanity and depth behind his malice. It's a balancing act that is extremely hard to nail down and extremely easy to fuck up from a writing standpoint. But Gege Akutami has succeeded in writing a villain that balances humanity and pure evil in an extremely dynamic and intriguing way. And that's something I can only say for very few antagonists. Mahito truly is the best villain in modern fiction. In my opinion, at least. Anyway, I'm out of here.
you.